Hello, everybody, and on the YouTube replay, welcome. We're on day 3 of our study group for A Course in Miracles. We're on page 8 in the workbook and manual edition, and we're starting at the paragraph right below Revelation, Time, and Miracles. So I'm going to go first and I'll read a paragraph, and then whoever is able to, will take turns reading paragraphs and then talking about them in between. So I'll go first. All right. Revelation induces complete but temporary suspension of doubt and fear. It reflects the original form of communication between God and his creations, involving the extremely personal sense of creation sometimes sought in physical relationships. Involving the sorry, I'm going to reread that. Involving the extremely personal sense of creation sometimes sought in physical relationships. Physical closeness cannot achieve it. Miracles, however, are genuinely interpersonal and result in true closeness to others. Revelation unites you directly with God. Miracles unite you directly with your brother. Neither emanates from consciousness, but both are experienced there. Consciousness is the state that induces action, though it does not inspire it. You are free to believe what you choose, and what you do attests to what you believe. Wow. So I want to talk about the first part that I had to reread, where it says, Revelation reflects the original form of communication between God and his creations, involving the extremely personal sense of creation sometimes sought in physical relationships. Physical closeness cannot achieve it. I feel like this speaks so directly to codependency and how when we are in a state of needing a relationship, whether it's a friendship or an intimate relationship or a familial relationship, whatever it is, if we need it to fulfill something within us, what we are really looking for is closeness with God. And we're kind of using our egos to try and fill that space with another person, whether it's an attachment to um just like an attachment to how people act towards us, an attachment to how people talk to us or how people treat us, with of course holding boundaries and not letting people walk all over you, but just coming to the understanding that nobody is going to be able to fulfill within you that can only be fulfilled through God, essentially. um yeah, is that kind of the same thing that y'all understood from that?
Yeah. Um, I've I've had some experiences over the past few days of people kind of coming up in my life from my past. And I'm a lot different than I was then. And I kind of remember why we parted ways, you know. Um, Sometimes people want more from you than you can give them. And I
Mm.
try to love them anyways and hold my own boundaries, but yeah, it can be a lot if somebody is looking for something outside of them and they want it from you, and you try to show them that they already have it, but um, it's a thing people do, and yeah, I think I understood it the same way that you did.
Yeah, it's almost like before we go, I mean, just at different phases in our lives, we're different things for different people, depending on the version of ourselves that we are. And we don't owe anybody the old version of ourselves. But sometimes that can be really challenging to stand in. It can be really challenging when faced with somebody from our past to like stand firm in this new version of myself. Like, no, I'm not available to give my energy to you in that way anymore. And it can be kind of uncomfortable and painful almost to do that. So I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah, what were you thinking, Glenn?
Hmm. Miracles, however, are genuinely interpersonal and result in true closeness to others. Revelation unites you with God. Miracles unite you with your brother. And I don't know. I'm just in a relationship right now with someone, and like, all I crave is that intimacy and that closeness. But those moments are fleeting, and maybe there's a different kind of intimacy and a different kind of closeness that is pervaded through the love of
Mm,
God. And I don't really know.
yeah.
Yeah.
I don't think that there is any shame in wanting that connection and that intimacy with another person. I think that that's a beautiful part of the human journey and the human experience. And I think it can be kind of confused in like shaming the human part of ourself when the whole point of all of this is to love the human part of ourself and to gift the human side of ourselves with, of course, boundaries within ourselves, but to not shame it or to deny, but to understand that there is a part inside of you that can only be fulfilled with God. And your relationship then reflects back to you that relationship that you've cultivated within yourself, with you and yourself, and with you and God. And so all relationships really ever are is just a mirror reflection of your relationship with yourself. Um, and they're the most beautiful and most challenging teachers at the same time. Yeah, so revelation unites you directly with God. Miracles unite you directly with your brother. Neither emanates from consciousness, but both are experienced there. So that makes me feel like, so if neither a miracle or a revelation emanate from consciousness, but they're experienced within consciousness, it makes me feel as though consciousness is something else, like a miracle exists outside of consciousness. And the fact that we even have consciousness is a creation in and of itself, which is kind of fascinating. Consciousness is the state that induces action, though it does not inspire it. You are
Hmm.
free to believe what you choose, and what you do attests to what you believe. So it's almost as if consciousness is a gift, giving you the option to choose your beliefs and to create action from that space. Um, yeah, which kind of blows my mind that consciousness in and of itself is a gift to do with what we please. I don't know. What do y'all get from that? That makes me feel like there is something outside of consciousness that was here before it that gave birth to consciousness, which I guess would be God. Wow. That's almost like the idea that there's the observer and then there's something even outside of the observer. There's the ego and then there's the observer of the ego, and then there's something even deeper that's outside of even the observer watching the observer, which I don't even want to get into that because I feel like it confuses me and then I just start talking in loops. So Unless anybody else has anything to share, we can move on to the next paragraph.
No, I agree with what you said. I never thought of it that way, but there definitely is like an example would be if I cannot lift a rock because I'm not strong enough, I need, the support of something higher. And that higher power could come in as like a crane, and a crane could lift that rock, and it's not me doing it, so it's some external force. But there's always the idea that God is united already with the human ego, but I don't know. I have no idea.
Yeah, it's fascinating. I feel as though when you move past the observer, it's almost something that needs to be experienced. It can't be something that could be logically understood or explained. And that is why I think Jesus and a lot of people like Buddha and a lot of ascended masters spoke in parables, because they're more so trying to direct you within yourself to create that experience within, rather than trying to tell you what it is, because it's not really something that they could tell you even if they wanted to. It's something you must experience in order to understand, which awesome. I love that. um was anybody open to reading the next paragraph?
I can do
Sure,
it.
I can go. Oh, go ahead.
All right. Okay, I'll take this one and you do the next one.
Beautiful.
Revelation. Revelation is intensely personal and cannot be meaningfully translated. That is why any attempt to describe it in words is impossible. Revelation induces only experience. Miracles, on the other hand, induce action. They are more useful now because of their interpersonal nature. In this phase of learning, working miracles is important because freedom from fear cannot be thrust upon you. Revelation is literally unspeakable because it is an experience of unspeakable love.
Hmm. Yeah, that's so beautiful. I feel like that was really closely tied in with what we were just speaking about, that's why Jesus spoke in parables, because it's something that you can't describe because of their interpersonal nature in this phase of learning.
Yeah, it's almost like the story kind of takes you on the same ride. Like it's sort of like if you surrender your mind to like listening to this story and you go on that story arc, you kind of get a sense of what it's like more so than like breaking down the the logical components and system of it. So yeah, I think that's what we were just talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like we pretty much covered it in the
Yes.
previous conversation. Awesome. Okay, Glenn, if you'd like to read the next one. Or if you had to step away, I don't mind reading the next one and then you can read the one after. No big deal. Okay, I'll read this one and Glenn can read the next one. Awe should be reserved for revelation, to which it is perfectly and correctly applicable. It is not appropriate for miracles because a state of awe is worshipful, implying that one of a lesser order stands before his creator. You are a perfect creation and should experience awe only in the presence of the creator of perfection. The miracle is therefore a sign of love among equals. Equals should not be in awe of one another because awe implies inequality. It is therefore an inappropriate reaction to me. An elder brother is entitled to respect for his greater experience and obedience for his greater wisdom. He is also entitled to love because he is a brother, and to devotion if he is devoted. It is only my devotion that entitles me to yours. There is nothing about me that you cannot attain. I have nothing that does not come from God. The difference between us now is that I have nothing else. This leaves me in a state which is only potential to you. You know, I really, really love this paragraph because it's really Jesus saying that we should not, he's not asking for us to be in awe of him or to be in awe of anybody else. And he's also not asking for us to worship him because that implies inequality when he's merely just showing us what is attainable for us if we follow the pathway that he has carved for us to follow, right? And so he is saying that since he is the elder brother and he has nothing left but God because of the work he did, he was able to, I guess, fully merge his ego and spirit together as one. And so he has nothing left in the shadows. Everything has been brought to the light, which is the end goal for all of us on this path, which is where he's saying that because of this, he has greater wisdom to share. And this is why he deserves respect and obedience, but never a sense of inequality in us looking up to him as greater than. So there is nothing about me you cannot attain. I have nothing that does not come from God. So if we all have access to God and everything that he has received has come from God, then the only difference is that he has nothing left within him except for the presence of God, which is only a potential for us on this path at this point. I don't know. I love this paragraph because it really reflects to us that the level of spiritual wisdom and maturity and enlightenment that Jesus reached is attainable for all of us. Did y'all have anything to share?
Hmm.
I think just the thought of like there's nothing that needs to be done, no action to be taken for us to be unified with God. We already are in a state of union, which is called samavesha. We're already in that immersion, and all you need to do is just keep letting go and detaching and detaching and detaching. But there's still no, I don't know what this paragraph is saying, but from the Bhagavad Gita, it says, what is so special in this world that needs to be worshipped and be devout and to be devoted to? It's kind of just like, I don't know what I'm saying. I give up.
No, no, I understand what you were saying, and I agree.
Yeah, it's like,
Um,
does God demand devotion and obedience, or like, is there nothing to do? And like later in this book, it says, I need do nothing. That's what it
I,
says.
yeah.
Have you read that part?
I don't think so yet. I'm just laughing because I'm just like, isn't that the funniest spiritual joke of them all? There's really nothing to do besides
Yeah,
surrender and let go.
yeah, for sure.
Exist.
Exist, be.
It just always makes me laugh because I'm like, oh, it sounds so easy. Yeah, thank you, Glenn. I really like that. And then the next paragraph that starts with, no man cometh unto the Father but by me. If you want to read that paragraph, Glenn, you're more than welcome.
Sure.
Perfect.
No man cometh unto the Father but by me does not mean that I am in any way separate or different from you, except in time, and that time does not really exist. The statement is more meaningful in terms of vertical rather than the horizontal accent. You stand below me, and I stand below God. In the process of rising up, I am higher, because without me, the distance between God and man would be too great for you to encompass. I bridge the distance as an elder brother for you on the one hand, and as a son of God on the other. My devotion to my brothers has placed me in charge of sonship, which I render complete because I share it. This may appear to contradict the statement, I and my Father are one, but there are two parts to the statement in recognition that the Father is greater. What is, who's I? Is that the Holy Spirit?
I always take it to mean that like our I am presence. But I suppose the I am presence and the Holy Spirit could be the same thing. Or the yeah, let me see. But this book is a channeled book, and so whenever the person is referring to themselves, which maybe you already knew this, but even for people watching on YouTube, the I is for Jesus because it was a channeled book and Jesus was the one coming through. So anytime it refers to the which I render complete because I share it, it's referring to Jesus talking about himself. Yeah. No, man does not mean that I am in any way separate or different from you except in time, and time does not really exist. The statement is more meaningful in a vertical. So when we think about a vertical axis rather than a horizontal axis, that is the spiritual. So when you think about almost like a quantum leap only happens when we go up vertically, as opposed to trying to go horizontally through time. We see that there's a way to close the gap in the horizontal through going up, and that just automatically connects us to where we're trying to get in the horizontal. So vertical is spiritual steps, essentially, which would be through forgiveness lessons, and just deciding, choosing to stand in your I am presence, choosing to believe I am. And then through that belief, you instantaneously begin acting as the I am. Yeah, did you have anything to share, Michael?
No, I don't have anything to share. You guys are really helping me understand this. I'm a little bit slower to process because of the language, but
Yeah,
continue.
I get
Continue
it.
with your
Did you
thoughts.
have yeah, I'll just go into the second part of this paragraph a little bit more. I bridge the distance as an elder brother to you on the one hand, and as a son of God on the other. So it's almost as if when he lived the life as Jesus, he walked the path that bridged earth to heaven. And then he went up to heaven and then was like, well, I'm not going to just stay in heaven when the rest of the sonship, the rest of us are still living in this almost like hell like nightmarish reality on earth. So he was like, well, of course they're a part of me, so their suffering is my suffering, so I'm going to go halfway through the bridge and reach out a hand to be like, hey, this way, come on, you guys. So that's where it's saying, my devotion to my brother has placed me in charge of the sonship, which I render complete because I share it. So because he already made it home to God and he is a part of you, he is a part of me, he's a part of all of us, that means there is a part within us that has already completed this path. There is a part within us that has already made it home, that is home with God. And it's just the act of now making the choice every day to walk ourselves in that direction through decisions that we make, the way that we speak to people, when resentments come up, in the choice to let them go, when fearful thoughts arise, choosing to release them. And even the smallest step that could just be forgiving a thought of self-loathing is really a big step getting closer to God, closer to the remembrance that we are home with God. Just like I think on day one, we talked about how there's no difference in miracles, they're both the same. And we're sort
Yes.
of just performing miracle after miracle until we've sort of cleansed ourselves from the shadow and reunited with our spirit and fully wake up through a constant stream of direct revelation, essentially. Which I render complete because I share it. This may appear to contradict the statement, I and my Father are one, but there are two parts to the statement in recognition that the Father is greater. Yeah, well, of course, we are finding our way. We are, how do I want to say that? We are simply just walking ourselves and each other back into this remembrance that we are home. Yeah, I don't know why I and my Father are one. The Father is greater, of course, because we are just like a fraction of the greater source consciousness. Awesome. Let's move to the next paragraph if you'd like to read, or I'll read if you don't want to.
Am I up on the reading?
Yep.
Okay. Revelations are indirectly inspired by me because I am close to the Holy Spirit and alert to the revelation readiness of my brothers. I can thus bring down to them more than they can draw down to themselves. The Holy Spirit mediates higher to lower communication, keeping the direct channel from God to you open for revelation. Revelation is not reciprocal. It proceeds from God to you, but not from you to God.
Mm. Yeah, it's almost as if Jesus keeps the path open for revelations to be possible because of his chosen embodiment of Christ consciousness. It's almost as if he is a blueprint. He blueprinted this embodiment of Christ consciousness that we all have the option to embody as well. And it will be made easier for us since Jesus has already done it and created the blueprint. So it becomes easier for us to do it than it was for him because he paved the way, whereas he had no path. He kind of had to carve. I mean, of course, he had mentors and he had spiritual guides and he had help, but he sort of carved this path that hadn't been carved before. He was the first physical incarnation that really successfully embodied this blueprint of Christ consciousness. So he's able to draw this presence of the Holy Spirit down closer to us than we would be able to reach up to it on our own. Yeah, and then revelation is not reciprocal. It proceeds from God to you, but not from you to God. Which just, I take that to mean that is kind of like our communication to God is through prayer. And that's how we communicate, whereas revelation is how God then communicates to us.
Mm.
And it's not, whenever we aren't experiencing revelation, it's not that we're not worthy of it. We're always worthy of revelation. It's just a matter of differentiating fluctuation in vibration, like when we still have a lot of shadow and density that's dragging us down in frequency, it's harder to access the higher realm. So we have to meet God halfway and do the work of cleansing our vessel and releasing the darkness and merging our shadow and our light as one. And as we do this work, we raise in frequency. And when we're raising in frequency, then we're closer to experiencing revelation, which is our birthright, and that we're always worthy of. It's just that we forgot, and now we have to go back and do the work to remember, which is funny to me.
Yeah, that's really helpful. What would be like an example of a difference between a revelation and a miracle,
Mm,
like the way you would experience it?
yeah. I think now I've never experienced revelation. I've only ever read about other people's experiences with this. But from what I've gathered from reading about it, which in the book, um, something the unit, I'll write it to you in the email if you're interested. But I read a
Sure.
book and he was talking about how when he experienced revelation, it was almost as everything around him went still and quiet and nothing else existed in his. He was like, this did not happen in my mind, this happened in my physical reality. Nothing
Mhm.
existed. I was basically in just light. I just saw light everywhere I looked, and I felt nothing but bliss and peace and unity and love. I felt nothing else. It was as if all of the fear and worry and anxiety had been completely lifted, and he had experienced nothing but light and the feeling of bliss. Whereas a miracle are small glimpses of that throughout our day, like on the first day when we were talking about smiling at someone at the grocery store, and not only does it help their mood, but it also helps your mood, and you just feel better the rest of the day. That would be like a glimpse of a revelation. And um I believe that each miracle is cleansing us and merging our darkness and light together into unity, one small miracle at a time until our frequency is high enough to experience revelation.
Wow. Okay. That's really helpful.
Yeah, from what I've read about it, revelations are like extraordinarily like intense.
Yeah. Um, can I share a personal experience? Um,
Yeah, of course.
I think I may have been experiencing revelation for like a good few days, where it was very unlike anything I had experienced before, and like it didn't seem real. Like I was in a dream state, but it was just my waking life. And every moment was just this profound thing that was just unfolding around me. Everyone was, everyone around me was flourishing. Everything was happening perfectly. Like people were like walking up to me and just giving me love everywhere I went. And it was this beautiful, amazing thing. Um, and
That's incredible.
as, and aside from that, um, are you familiar with the, the term psychic attack? Have you ever heard of that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so last last night um I kind of came out of that revelation state, and I think somebody was really upset with me over something. I'm not sure what it was, but I literally felt my heart tightening, and I knew who it was for whatever reason. And I texted them and I said, "Hey, are you good? I just got a weird feeling." And immediately I felt that feeling like release. And I don't know if that is, I was trying to figure out like what was happening and how how that happened and how I knew it was them. Um, but uh, yeah, um, I kind of came out of that state, but I don't know. I still feel very, very connected and I've recovered from it now, but I don't know if you have experienced something like that where like you felt someone's directing
Yeah.
energy at you.
I think the more we do this work and the more our vessel clears out and we become a more pure channel to the divine, we start to tune in to our spiritual abilities, which includes telepathy, which I think that is probably very connected to what you were experiencing was just like a telepathic connection between you and this other person, a spirit, especially if y'all are very energetically connected, if y'all see each other a lot or if y'all have a close relationship.
Mhm.
We're very energetically connected to those people. And when we begin awakening to our spiritual abilities like telepathy, it can be very helpful to start doing daily cord cutting meditations. Have you heard of that?
No.
You can find them on YouTube pretty easily. You can just type in like cord cutting guided meditation. And essentially what it
Okay.
does is there's like an energetic cord attached from your light body to their light body, that's draining and leaking both of y'all's energy into each other, which can cause instances like that. And so you just cut that cord and
What does that
it
mean though? Like what
helps.
do with this person? Like I feel
I'm
like they
sorry.
have resentment towards me and it's not it's not the first time it happened.
Mm, you know, they, maybe they do, and unless they are coming to you and like openly talking to you about it, not that it's, I don't want to say it's none of your business. That's not how I mean it, but it's just kind of, at least this is how I operate in those situations, is if you're not directly communicating to me an issue, if you're not coming to me and saying, "Hey, I have a problem, let's talk about it," I just kind of operate like nothing is the matter because I have no idea and I'm not interested in playing mind games with people. So I'll just go on. I mean, I won't act fake or anything, but I'll just go on how I normally would. And then when they're ready, if they do have something that's the matter, they'll come to me and be like, "Hey, I want to talk to you about this." Or if you're more like you just want to get it resolved, you can always talk to them and be like, "Hey, I don't know, maybe it's just in my head, but is there something that I don't know about here?"
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's good advice. Thank you.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, of course.
and then I'm sorry, I don't want to make this about me, but I do want to share one more thing about you mentioned telepathy.
Hmm.
I literally heard in my mind the first line of a text message that my friend sent to me before I received it on my phone. Like clearly spoken in my mind. It was incredible. I
That's
don't know.
awesome.
Yeah, it
Yeah, you must
was
be.
incredible.
Usually, whenever spiritual gifts just start like naturally popping up like that, they're things that we've worked on in past lives. So it's not just like something random being given to you, it's something that you probably trained for in past lives. That if you go inward and like ask your higher self for guidance, your higher self probably can help you with protection, can help guide you with how to use them and more like use them as a craft almost. So it's probably something that you've been doing for lifetimes.
Wow.
Yeah. I
All
mean, I
right.
don't want to say that
Thank you
that's
so
like,
much.
I don't want to, yeah, I'm like, that's not like a fact, but it just sounds like you naturally have that ability,
Okay,
which is
continue
cool.
on.
Okay. We're at the paragraph that starts, the miracle minimizes. The miracle minimizes the need for time. In the longitudinal, is that how you law? It doesn't matter. Or horizontal plane, the recognition of the equality of the members of the sonship appears to involve almost endless time. However, the miracle entails a sudden shift from horizontal to vertical perception. This introduces an interval from which the giver and receiver both emerge farther along in time than they would otherwise have been. The miracle thus has the unique property of abolishing time to the extent that it renders the interval of time it spans unnecessary. There is no relationship between the time a miracle takes and the time it covers. The miracle substitutes for learning that might have taken thousands of years. It does so by the underlying recognition of perfect equality of giver and receiver on which the miracle rests. The miracle shortens time by collapsing it, thus eliminating certain intervals within it. It does this, however, within the larger temporal sequence. So this is kind of what I was talking about before, where we have the horizontal and the vertical axis, and we can use miracles as a tool to move up horizontally, which then collapses the horizontal time and causes a quantum leap. And this is simply because time only exists because it's gifted to us as a tool to move through our forgiveness lessons and to see everyone as one, to see everyone as equal. And so when you're in heavy resistance to this, when you refuse to forgive people, when you're super rude to yourself, when you're just not living in this miracle readiness state, you're probably going to have to keep coming back for lifetimes and lifetimes and lifetimes until you finally see what you're supposed to see, which is we're all one. Everything is just simply within you being projected outwards. And so whenever we hold on to resentment, we're not getting the point. And a miracle is the us tuning into that perception that we are all one, and what we perceive in another is a part of ourself, and then we choose to forgive it. That then collapses time because we understood the assignment, we understood the mission, and so time is then collapsed, and we're quantum leaped further on the path than we would have been if we didn't forgive, or if we didn't, whatever the lesson was. Because and essentially all time is being used to walk us home as one with God. And so the longer we're in resistance to the fact that we're all one and we're all home with God, the longer time goes on. But when we can surrender to it and be like, okay, fine, I surrender. We're all one. I forgive everybody, whatever, then it collapses. So yeah. How do you feel about that?
Me, I kind of struggle with the time thing. It's a little ethereal for me, but I'm trying to get it. Maybe someone else has more to add.
Yeah, maybe someone will put something in the comments about it. Let me check the time. Okay, we're
Oh, is
good.
anyone else here? Did Glenn leave?
Glenn had to leave. He
Oh, okay.
texted the chat that he had to go.
Okay. I didn't realize that.
Um, yeah. But yeah, did you have any specific questions or things that you weren't fully understanding about it, or is it just the whole concept itself?
What is time collapsing? What does that mean?
So, time collapsing. Let me breathe for a second and see how to best explain it. Okay, so when we collapse time, we're essentially doing away with certain circumstances that we would have previously had to go through in order to learn a lesson. Say, for example, we are in a relationship and it ends up ending because the other person cheated on you and you didn't understand or you didn't heal the worthiness wound that was within you. And so the next relationship you get into, you're just attracting the same type of person who is also going to cheat on you. And so you're going to continue to attract people into your life that are going to cheat on you, not because you deserve it, but because you have a wound within you around your self-worth that you haven't healed yet. And so they're just coming into your life as reflections to show you what you need to work on within. But you're in resistance to this and you just keep blaming the other person and saying, oh, it's just because they're a piece of shit. And after the fourth, fifth relationship where the other person cheated on you, you're still saying, oh, they're just a piece of shit. And you're not taking ownership. Like, okay, sure, that was not cool of them to do, but whose pattern is it? It's my pattern. And so let's go within and see why I have this pattern of attracting this person. Whereas if after the very first relationship you ever had, when someone cheated on you, you saw exactly what it was pointing to within you, and you chose to heal that worthiness wound and forgive them for cheating on you because you understood that, yes, it wasn't cool of them to do this, but there was a wound within you that attracted them to you, and you, on some level, on a higher level of consciousness, knew that they were going to cheat on you. And so while your dense physical egoic structure probably didn't know, there was a higher perspective that knew, and they attracted them to you to show you the lesson, and you saw the lesson and you moved on. You healed what you needed to heal. Now you have no reason to attract the next four relationships of people who are going to cheat on you because you understood the assignment, and that collapses time because you no
Okay,
longer need to go through more time to learn the same lesson.
I see now. Yes, I see. That was super helpful.
Yeah, I was really like, what is a more grounded way of explaining it? So yeah, because you can have somebody who never learns the lesson and they spend their entire lifetime with people who treat them like shit. Now they pass away. They're going to have to come back in another lifetime to learn that same lesson because it was never dealt with in this lifetime. So now, not only are you expanding time in this life, but you're going to have to keep coming back for hundreds of other lifetimes until you learn the lesson.
Got it.
Whereas through miracles and forgiveness, you can collapse time and now you have no need to come back and learn a lesson of self-worth.
Interesting.
Isn't
Okay,
that
so
funny?
it's like you're stuck. You're like you're stuck in this point in time until you are able to move beyond it, kind of, right?
Yep. You're
Okay.
kind of just trapped in a time loop of the same experiences until you learn the lesson.
Okay.
I'm glad that that was
Beautiful.
helpful. Okay,
Yes.
let's do, um, well, actually, I think this is, well, what time is it? Okay, cool, you're back.
Okay. Yeah, sorry, somebody called me and I tried to reject it, but all right. We're good.
No, you're fine. No need to apologize. Let's just do one more paragraph um, and then that's where I'll put the bookmark.
Okay.
Perfect. One more paragraph. Under atonement and miracles. I am in charge of the process of atonement, which I undertook to begin. When you offer a miracle to any of my brothers, you do it to yourself and me. The reason you come before me is that I do not need miracles for my own atonement, but I stand at the end in case you fail temporarily. My part in the atonement is the canceling out of all errors that you could not otherwise correct. I think I want to talk about that before we keep going.
Okay.
Because it's already a whole lot. So
Yeah.
from my own understanding, which I'm sure the book will further explain atonement, but from my understanding, atonement is just the completion of all forgiveness, and you're standing in your divinity with no shadows left to forgive. That's how I understand atonement. Um, and so we kind of talked about this when we offer a miracle to anyone, we're offering a miracle to not only us, but also to Jesus. The reason you come before me is that I do not need miracles for my own atonement, but I stand at the end in case you failed temporarily, which I just take as like a guiding hand. And then the next one goes on to say, my part in the atonement is the canceling out of all errors that you could not otherwise correct. And the way that I practice this, because nobody's perfect. We're never able of being 100% conscious all the time and catching every single one of our misperceptions. That would involve when someone else is at the grocery store and they have a broken foot, us being conscious enough to see, like, oh, I'm perceiving them as broken, so I better forgive myself and forgive them because the truth of who they are doesn't have a broken foot. So it's like we would have to be in a constant state of forgiveness all day long, every single day, which, I mean, that's not really reality. That's
Yeah.
not how it always happens. I'm not saying it's impossible. I personally, I guess I should speak for myself. I'm not there yet. There's lots of things that I don't forgive throughout my day. So this is basically saying that at the end of our day, we can kind of do like a catch-all prayer, essentially, sort of saying, how would I say it? Just a catch-all, I'm sorry, please forgive me. And you can invite Jesus, you can invite your own higher self, you can invite God, it doesn't matter. But just calling them into your prayer to help, please forgive any and all instances and circumstances throughout my day that I was not even aware of. So that even takes the pressure off of feeling like we are responsible for every single thing to forgive at all hours of the day, when in reality, that's not really always going to be possible. We can always just offer it all up to God and it's taken care of. When you have been restored to the recognition of your original state, you naturally become part of the atonement yourself. As you share my unwillingness to accept error in yourself and others, you must join the great crusade to correct it. Listen to my voice. Learn to undo error and act to correct it. The power to work miracles belongs to you. I will provide the opportunities to do them, but you must be ready and willing. Doing them will bring conviction in the ability, because conviction comes through accomplishment. The ability is the potential, the achievement is its expression, and the atonement, which is the natural profession of the children of God, is the purpose. So my understanding is that the end goal is for us all to reach this state of atonement, which is when we're all one, we're all standing in our divinity together with nothing left to forgive. And once we have got gotten a glimpse of this through miracles, through revelation, whatever it is that has given us this glimpse, it then almost becomes like our, not because someone's telling you it's your duty, but you just feel the calling from within to share this with others. And so then, of course, you would go around and having that mindset of choosing to be in a state of forgiveness throughout your day. Being in a miracle ready mindset to walk through life and to hold a clear image of everyone and who they truly are, even when the physical almost tries to negate that. Yeah, what do you think about this paragraph?
I think I feel like I'm working on training myself right now for this to be my default way of going through a day. Because of course, all the time there's going to be people who are doing things that you don't like, you know, and there's new things coming up all the time. And I think if you have done a lot of work for forgiving people from your past and shedding all of those things, um, it's never done. There's always new stuff coming up. So that's kind of something that's a helpful paragraph to like an approach to new conflicts in life.
Yeah, that is so true. It's very, for me, one, I guess we can talk about this one paragraph and then we'll call it. But um, when it says, where does it say it? Okay, my part in the atonement is the canceling out of all errors that you could not otherwise correct. I think that this is a part of like the misperception in some ideologies where people believe Jesus died for your sins, whereas I don't believe that. I don't want to get into all of that today, but I just wanted to say that it's almost like he paved the way and almost like created this catch-all for the things that we don't see when we are choosing to do the work, because that is the whole point, is like making the conscious choice throughout all day every day to do the work, to be in that perception that Jesus had. And it's not a reason to be like, oh, I can do whatever I want because Jesus died for my sins. It's more like a,
Yeah.
no, he kind of paved a path for you to either choose to walk or not choose to walk. And then because he is here guiding us, and he is like almost like a spiritual protector for us if we choose to work with him, that he'll see everything that we miss throughout our day and he'll forgive it for us if we're choosing to do the work with him. If we're just unconscious and not aware of any of this work, he's not going to do it for you. But if you're
Mhm.
conscious and choosing to work with his spirit in the spiritual realms, he will hold a level of protection around you as you move through your day, and he will um, forgive the things that you don't see or forget to forgive, because he wants us to succeed, right?
Yes. Yes, the universe is conspiring with us, not against us.
Yeah, and he's just one option for a spiritual mentor. There are so many different spiritual mentors that you can choose to work with. Jesus is a very powerful spiritual mentor to work with, but he's not the only one, right? So I just felt called to to put it on there since I'll put this on YouTube. I just wanted to, if someone doesn't feel comfortable, that's okay. You can work with anyone,
Yeah.
you know?
Yes.
Well, I shouldn't say just anyone, but like ascended masters.
Yes.
Awesome. Well, this was a very wonderful conversation. Thank you so much for being a part of it.
Thank you.
I've been really enjoying this the past few weeks, so I'm just very excited about it. So awesome.
Yes, I'm learning lots. It's been very good. I'm happy that we are doing this, and I'm grateful for you for taking this on.
Yes, me too. Thank you. I'm like, sometimes um I forget just how, which I don't want to be like, oh, I'm so amazing, patting myself on the back, but sometimes I forget, which is a reminder for you too. Sometimes we forget just how far we've come and just how much work we truly have put in on our spiritual journey. And so sometimes little things like this, being like, wow, I can't believe I'm hosting a study group. I would have never done this last year. So I suppose I am making progress in some way. So just a reminder to everybody to, take a step back and look at how far you've come on your journey. And maybe you should pat yourself on the back for how far you've come because you're doing a great job.
Yeah, I mean, we're all trying to step into the new, and we're striving from a place of wholeness to embody our higher selves. And I think anyone can look back on their life and see their immaturity of the past and their mistakes and where they are now. And yes, we should be happy with our progress and continue forward in that direction.
Yes, I agree.
All right.
Awesome.
Thank you for this. Have a good
Of course.
day.
You too, and I'll see you later.
All right. I'll see you.